Dan Baer joins us now. Dan is the former U.S. ambassador to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. I'll come back to Lebanon in a moment, which Robert was just talking about, Dan. But on the inspectors first, how should we look at this as, good news? J.D. Vance and company got a concession here from Iran. They're going to let the inspectors in? Or, wait a second, Iran hasn't really committed to anything 100%. How do you see it?
Well, if we take a step back, the vice president characterized the talks yesterday as, quote, laying the foundation, and he said, now we have to build the house. And I agree with Robert that in the first 24 hours, and you raised this at the outset of the segment, it seems like that foundation might be shaky already in the sense that both sides are saying different things about what was agreed. And obviously, if they're going to move forward and negotiate the hard issues in front of them, they need to be on the same page on the foundation. Right now, it looks like the U.S. is saying that Iran has agreed to invite the IAEA back in. Those inspectors would be an important part of underwriting the confidence in the process to negotiate the hard questions around enrichment that lie in front of the teams at the negotiating table. Iran says that the U.S. has delivered frozen assets, and the U.S. hasn't confirmed that yet. So both sides are kind of saying that the other side has agreed to something, and time will tell whether that was actually an agreement that was made at the bargaining table.
Now, on the issue of Lebanon and all that goes along with it, here's the Vice President, J.D. Vance, when he was still in Switzerland. He's on his way home now. This was earlier.
We want a regional ceasefire, right? We want Hezbollah to stop firing at our friends in Israel. We want Israelis to be able to live in peace. We also want to make sure that, when things happen, they don't spiral into a broader escalation. And so we've been, I think, very good at setting up what we're calling a deconfliction mechanism. But what it really is to say that when things happen, the sides are actually talking to one another.
What about that, Dan, a deconfliction mechanism?
I mean, I think that's good that exists. There should be a communication mechanism. Communication is important, especially in this kind of crisis management. I think the challenging part will be that the Israelis will continue to see Hezbollah's presence in southern Lebanon as intolerable, though they're going to continue to want that buffer zone that they've been occupying. And they are unlikely to change their view without the Lebanese army being allowed to come in and Hezbollah being truly disarmed. And that is going to be something that Iran will need to put pressure on Hezbollah to do. And all of that is going to take work. So I think this is going to continue to be a hot button and a fragile ceasefire to the extent it holds for periods. It will be a fragile ceasefire that is happening in southern Lebanon between Israel and Lebanon.
All right, so what's next? Big picture on all of this. Let's first hear from Senator Lindsey Graham, who was on television over the weekend, said this.
Here's what I think will happen next. If this deal fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz over by force. The United States will control the Strait of Hormuz. We'll charge a fee for all those who go through to pay for the operation. And if Iran contests control of the Strait of Hormuz by the United States, we'll obliterate them.
What do you see, Dan, as the most likely kind of scenario as this plays out?
Well, I mean, one question is if that option had been on the table, whether the president wouldn't have taken it a couple months ago. So I'm not sure how easy the taking the Strait of Hormuz will be if that's what the president decided to do. I think right now the president has put his eggs in the basket of a negotiation. J.D. Vance set up the kind of framework for the working groups for that negotiation. There's a 60-day clock, as you know. I expect that will stretch on beyond the 60 days because the issues are so thorny. But I think the president has made a bet on negotiation. He's going to be tempted to stay with that even if things get difficult because he's going to know that every 60 days that ticks by is another 60 days closer to the November elections, and he's going to want gas prices in the United States to come down. He's going to want inflation to come down that has been jacked up by this war.
He's got to keep it on the table that he would use his military again, but you think he really wants to avoid that, it seems like, at almost all costs or even all costs?
I don't know if he wants to avoid it at all costs. He obviously retains military options, but he has been frustrated so far in achieving his strategic objectives through military force in this war, and now he's going to take another run at the negotiating table. I think we should all hope that the negotiating table bears fruit.
Dan Baer, thank you, Ambassador. We always appreciate it.